Welcome to Elation, where we find exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration. We are here today talking to Paul
Capuano.
Capuano. I was going to mess it up, so I didn't want to say it.
There we go.
Paul Capuano. Now, what brings elation in your life? We know you are a spatial audio aficionado and a master in the design of spatial audio. But what truly brings elation in your life?
Elation in my life. Number one are my boys and my wife back home. Um, I love music, and just in general,
Right.
all all forms, and I love movies. That's sort of where I got my start in the business. Actually, is motion pictures.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So movies are just amazing in in what they create inside you. I mean, there are moments in movies that I think frame parts of your life if it's a good movie.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know.
I mean, I felt like that. I've been in the business since technically 1983, so quite a while.
Wow. What was the first movie that grabbed you?
That grabbed me. That would probably be even prior to that, 78. I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind in the movie theater.
Okay.
I was 12 years old,
Yeah.
and I was fascinated by it. Just
Right.
loved it.
You had to watch it over and over
Oh
and
yeah,
over
I saw
again.
it. God, I've seen it at least half a dozen times.
Yeah, well, so that's for me. What I like to do is I like to watch over and over and over again, and actually probably half of my commentary in life is movie quotes.
Yep.
So but what was the first moment that you realized you wanted to be a part of the audio spectrum in film?
I got my start in a movie theater, like I said, in 1983 as an usher. I was 17 years old, just still in high school, all that. And yeah, I just being in that environment, um, I loved it. I loved it. I did it for 11 years on and off. I went to college. So when I was in school, in summers, weekends, I would go back and work in the theater. Um, and so yeah, it it's it's a great, I don't know, it's a great environment to be in. You can really lose yourself, and if it's a
Right.
good story, the technology is sort of besides the point. It's got to be a good story,
Right.
always.
Right. No, you could shoot a full, and they've done it. Shoot a full film on an iPhone and
Hmm.
make it interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I forget the movie that I can think of that. I know that they did that on a full iPhone, but
Oh,
the
is that the Beastie Boys?
yes,
Awesome. That was a concert movie, and then it was the Blair Witch was sort of,
was
I don't
sort
think
of
it was an
like that.
iPhone, but it
Yeah,
was.
but that style. But
Yep.
I mean, the point is, it's really about the story and the emotions that you portray on
Exactly.
camera,
Yep.
right?
Yep. But just watching it, and I think I really got interested in, or I appreciated the soundtracks and scores. If you ever watch, if you ever have the opportunity to watch a movie without the score,
It's not the same.
it's just weird.
Yeah,
It's like
you
you're just
almost
witnessing an event, but it's not a movie. The
right.
sound is what gets
You
you.
almost don't know how to feel emotionally about it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the sound gives it that emotional, like this is where you go in
Yep.
a sense. Like I love that documentary score,
Hmm.
and they show you, you make this sound, you want to make it feel like you're going up, and you make this sound, you make it feel like you're going down.
Yep.
Like that part of the emotion is more than 50%, in my opinion, of how you feel about the film.
Yep.
Because when you watch things that just don't have the sound or that type of movement, it's just less grabbing.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny, I think, how uh, scores became, because technically it was just because to go over the loud projector noise, right? That was
Yeah.
part of
On
the
set. Oh,
back in the
you mean,
day.
back in the day when you
Yeah,
could hear
when
the.
when they were playing the
Oh
organ with
yeah.
all the little sounds, it was basically just because they had a loud projector and they were trying to make it more comfortable for people watching the film, right?
And they realized at that point, just having music, it added to the entertainment experience of
Right,
going.
absolutely. So that always amazed me that
Yep.
things that start so simply become such an intricate part of the actual creation of
Yep.
it. Tell us a little bit about spatial audio. Like when did that truly, I guess, take flight, and really, what do you think it gives the industry?
Well, it. I don't know exactly when it started. Well, I do know it was in terms of widespread deployment was with the movie Brave, Dolby Atmos. I an employee of the company, and I set up um, one of our venues to launch it. So they had I'm going to say probably a dozen sites all over North America where they launched it, where this this film now was shown with audio or a sense of space around you that was different than any kind of a 5171 experience. Um,
It's a 360 bubble.
yeah, and I think when it started coming out, I think mixers weren't sure.
Right,
They were dabbling in it
right,
and then once they realized what can be done, um, what it opened up for them, it just took off.
right.
And
Yeah.
it's quite an experience.
Well, and like we were talking earlier, it creates so much space for a user, a mixer,
Yep.
a listener that I feel like it almost breaks apart an amazing feeling
Hmm.
and spreads it out to where everything is balanced and you feel like you're a part of the feeling now,
Yes.
instead of the feeling being projected at you. Now you feel like you're sitting in the middle of the feeling.
Hmm.
If that's, I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense, but
No,
that's
it does, and I think the most compelling, for me personally, most compelling scenes in a in a immersive audio track on a Dolby Atmos track, for film in particular, is the delicate stuff. If someone people walking through the woods at night,
right.
just the detail of the crickets or just different sounds all around you
Well,
from within the
it
woods.
mimics real life.
Yeah, and as long as it's not anything over the top that pulls you out of the story,
Right.
you can just sit there and not say to yourself, "Oh, that was cool."
Right.
If as long as you're not saying that, if you're just into the story,
Right.
it builds that whatever the filmmaker's intending.
Right.
You
Well, I
know.
mean, I guess it's a little bit like you can explain, like when you're mixing bass in a song,
Hmm.
you want to feel the bass. You don't want the bass to overload everything else.
Yeah.
So like there's a feeling, there's a line that you have between feeling and being too loud in the track. You got to
Hmm.
find that where it's just a feeling. It's like, okay, if I was walking through the woods, that a cricket behind me would sound like that, but I'm still going to keep walking. I'm not going to turn my head and look.
You're right.
It's got to kind of be that natural.
Right. Exactly. And with music, which is a more recent development
Right.
for this technology. It's to hear it in a discrete environment, your studio right next door that I just tuned. Um, it's compelling. The binaural tracks, listening over headphones, still sounds great,
Right.
but to hear that discrete
Right.
tuned studio, hearing a really well done music track is compelling
Yeah.
to me.
Now, I also think it's not for every track.
Oh yeah,
I've definitely heard a couple spatial mixes that I was like, I think I'd like the stereo mix better.
I've heard a bunch actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard a bunch.
now what do you think that is because? Do you think that's because maybe there technically isn't a brand standard for mixing in spatial audio yet because it's so new? Or do you think that it's because some sounds, when they blend, they create a natural frequency that when you separate, it takes away that frequency?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more a function of the intention behind for the mixer slash artist. Are they? What does this song? I don't know. I think they just need to give it some thought about what's possible.
Well, so now, but nowadays I feel like it's great because you can produce thinking. Okay, well, I'm gonna mix this in spatial audio, so I can produce this like I'm
Right.
making it in spatial
Yeah.
audio. But when you take a track that was made in the '60s, when it had no thought of panning and breaking everything apart from left and right,
Yep.
you know, sometimes it takes away the feeling
Hmm.
and the emotion of those frequencies that clash and blend, and that not perfect sound
Hmm.
that you get from live music
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yes.
That is that emotion,
I see where you're going with that.
I
Yeah, for
feel like
sure.
those tracks, it kind of you lose a little bit of that heart. I
Hmm.
feel like when you split it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, but I also think that, and I just wonder if, in some cases, if it's just a music factory where
Right.
you got to pump this thing out, and let's just take this instrument as an object and we'll slap it over here
Right.
without really, I don't know, giving it some thought and giving it some QC, some
Right.
quality control. Just have some people listen and say, what do you think? Or
Right, 100%. Yeah, because I mean, any mixer, even in stereo, can ruin the emotion of a track.
Mhm.
But I just feel like there is definitely a little bit of I guess you could say, leeway in how an engineer can approach a spatial audio track now, because it's almost more about the opinion of the person in the room than it is about industry standard right now.
Mm. Yeah,
Am I right, or?
yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not I'm not directly involved with the business, only in the sense from an engineering perspective.
I got you.
Um, but I could definitely see,
You can see that.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Tell us some of the big films that you've worked on, if you can.
Yeah, um, I do some soundtrack mastering um, out of New York, and I've worked on. I think we discussed it, The Irishman,
Hmm.
um, a Scorsese picture, and there's another one coming out, Killers of the Flower Moon. Um, let's see, what else have I done? I did.
Because that's a long jump from being 17 working as an usher
Oh, tell me about it.
to being in the room with Martin and mastering a project. That's an
I
impressive.
didn't plan it.
That no, but that's an impressive long journey
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at and respecting like crazy. So, those are the journeys that I feel like people need to hear, because, you have to start somewhere,
Yep. Well,
you know.
and that's where it started. And I just did it. It was my first real
But
job.
but
I
it's a
had to,
love though. It created a
it
love, that first job.
it developed into a love in the sense, and definitely once I was working at the theater, probably in the late '80s. Every year, my family would take this big trip with my cousins up north, and it was time to go. And I actually said, you know what, I can't. I got to work. Like I could have,
Right.
but I just wanted to be at work. It
Right.
was, it wasn't. It was just all my friends were there, but also I just enjoyed being there. So I did that and went to college, got a degree in engineering, and then in the early '90s, I had no real practical experience. I didn't know what I wanted to do, quote unquote,
Mhm.
but I was friendly with I had worked my way up into management at the theater, and I was operating the projectors, 35 millimeter actual film.
Wow.
There was 12 of them, and I ran the booth, and I did that for several years. And I got to friendly with the service technician that was there, and
Right.
he knew my background, and he eventually encouraged me to join his company. And so I did that. So I did that for another 11 years, 94 to '05, servicing 35 millimeter projectors in.
Wow.
I grew up in Rhode Island, so it was Rhode Island, Connecticut, Southern Mass, and you know, I met my um, wife now was a theater manager. We started dating, and I got you know, we eventually moved in together, and then got married, and had our first son when someone I knew that left our company for Dolby. I called him up on his last day of work and wished him well, and just said, hey, if something opens up there, let me know. I might be interested. And a year later, he called me back and he says, you were the only one in the whole company that wished me well. He says, so yeah, they're looking for someone else.
Wow.
And, I would have had to move to New York from where I was.
Right.
And it was a big jump for me because it was the big unknown. And that's something I learned was just sometimes doors just open up and you just got to take it,
Absolutely.
you
No,
know?
you can't be scared of the progress
Right.
and the opportunities you create for yourself.
Yep.
So, what's crazy is that one job seemed to create even your family life in a sense because you found someone in that same realm that had some of the similar interest
Yep.
and connected with that person because of it. So truly
Hmm.
that first job created a lot in your life.
Yep.
So, those are the things that like I like to tell people, that are feel stuck or they don't really exactly know what to do,
Yep.
just get up and try something because you
Absolutely.
don't exactly know where that's going to lead you.
Yeah, that's what
And
I
and that first place may not be the answer, but you're going to find an answer inside that decision.
Yep. What do you enjoy? And just be open. And if there's an opportunity that's like scares the shit out of you,
It's probably a good one.
it's probably worth taking.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
because maybe that's not it, but that may lead to
A
something
hundred
else.
percent. Well, dreams that don't scare you are not worth it,
Yeah.
right?
Right. And that's it. And so I took the leap, and here I am.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, great for talking to us today. I
Yeah.
appreciate your time,
Appreciate
and
it.
I appreciate you tuning the room. The room
Yeah.
sounds way different,
It
and
was a bit of a slog, but we got through it.
yeah,
And
no,
I think it sounds really good. And I
awesome,
think for music and post, I think both,
awesome,
it's good luck. And I really enjoyed it.
awesome. Well, I can't wait. Well, thanks so much.
All right, man.
All right, thanks. Welcome to Elation, and I appreciate you guys joining us, and see
Yeah.
you soon.
All right.
All right,
Groovy. Thanks, man.
thanks, bud.